The stars looked different from the mountain laboratory. Dr. Han Jiwoo often thought this as she worked late into the night. Away from city lights, with clean mountain air between her and the cosmos, she could see more stars than most people ever noticed. Tonight, however, something was wrong with the stars. "That's not supposed to be there," she muttered, adjusting the settings on her quantum scanner. The device had been built to detect subatomic particles, not to scan the night sky. But 3 weeks ago, Han had noticed strange energy readings that seemed to come from above, and curiosity had gotten the better of her. The blip on her screen pulsed again. Something large was moving through Earth's upper atmosphere, something that absorbed energy in a pattern she had never seen before. Han checked her calculations again. This was no satellite or space debris. "Dr. Han?" Kim Tae-ho stood in the doorway, his lab coat wrinkled from a long day of work. "You should have gone home hours ago." Han waved him over without looking away from her screen. "Look at this. Tell me I'm not imagining it." Kim adjusted his glasses and leaned closer to the monitor. His eyes widened. "That's impossible." "Run it through your displacement models," Han said. "See if it matches anything." Kim Tae-ho was the lab's expert on theoretical quantum displacement, a way to fold space that existed only in equations and computer models. He had devoted his career to the idea that objects could theoretically jump between points in space without traveling the distance between. He tapped at the keyboard, pulling up his research database. After several minutes of silence, he sat back in his chair. "The energy signature matches my theoretical displacement field," he said quietly. "But my theories are just that, theories. No one on Earth has the technology to create an actual displacement field." "No one on Earth," Han repeated, the words feeling strange in her mouth. 500 kilometers above them, Jun Minho watched Earth through the observation window of his cloaked vessel. Technically, he was breaking protocol. The Galactic Council's rules were clear: minimal orbital presence, no direct contact, and absolutely no interference with Earth's development. But Jun had been Earth's observation specialist for 15 years, and in that time he had developed a fascination with humans that went beyond his official duties. They were crude and violent by Council standards, but they were also remarkably creative. In 3 centuries, they had gone from horse-drawn carriages to rudimentary space exploration. It was an unprecedented rate of technological development. His communication panel chimed. Jun sighed and accepted the incoming message. "High Counselor." Dre's face appeared on screen, reptilian features arranged in what Jun recognized as disapproval. "Observer Jun," the High Counselor said, "the mining vessel reports unusual scanner activity from the surface. Are you certain the humans remain unaware of our presence?" Jun bowed his head slightly. "The humans have no technology capable of detecting our ships, High Counselor. Their most advanced sensors are primitive by our standards." "See that it stays that way," Dre said. The council vote was clear. Earth remains isolated for at least another century. Their social development lags far behind their technological progress. They would be a destabilizing influence. "Of course, High Counselor," Jun said. "However, I must file my observation that their progress continues to accelerate. Perhaps a re-evaluation." "The matter is closed, Observer," Dre interrupted. "Continue your monitoring duties and ensure the mining operation concludes without incident. The humans need never know what resources we've borrowed from their outer system." The communication ended, and Jun turned back to his observation window. Below him, a storm was forming over the Pacific Ocean. Humans would call it a typhoon soon. They would track it with their weather satellites, never noticing the council ships moving around those same satellites. Jun had always followed orders. But lately, he had begun to wonder if the council was making a mistake with Earth. Back in her laboratory, Han Jiwoo had not slept. For 3 days straight, she and Kim had tracked the strange object in orbit. They had observed 5 more objects, joining it, all with the same unusual energy signature. "They're mining something," Kim said, pointing to the new data on their shared screen. "Look at the material transfer pattern. They're taking something from the far side of Jupiter and transferring it to the largest vessel." Han nodded, her eyes red from lack of sleep. The question is, do we tell anyone? Kim looked at her nervously. Who would believe us? We don't even have pictures, just energy readings that most scientists would dismiss as equipment malfunction. We need proof, Han agreed, and we need to understand what we're dealing with. She turned to the whiteboard where Kim had been developing his latest displacement equations. An idea was forming. Dangerous, probably impossible, but too important to ignore. Your displacement theory, she said slowly. How far are you from a working model? Kim laughed, a short, tired sound. A working model? Decades at least. The energy requirements alone are beyond our current capabilities. But what if they're not? Han pointed at their readings. Whatever technology these ships use, it bends space in ways similar to your equations. What if we could reverse engineer it? Kim stared at her, then at his equations, then back at the screen showing the alien ships. For the first time in days, his exhaustion seemed to fade. We would need more data, he said. Much more, and we would need help. Han nodded. Her decision, I have a friend at the Global Science Foundation. She trusts me. If we present her with this data, she might help us assemble a team, quietly. 3 weeks later, in a secure conference room at the GSF headquarters, Han and Kim presented their findings to a small group of scientists and one military observer. You're suggesting, said Dr. Park Soon-mi, the head of the newly formed Space Defense Initiative, that Earth is being visited and possibly exploited by an advanced alien civilization. Yes, Han said simply. And more importantly, we believe their technology could revolutionize human space travel. If we can understand how they fold space, we could develop our own version of it, Kim finished. Early simulations suggest it might be possible to create a small-scale displacement field with our current technology. Nothing large enough for a spacecraft, but enough to prove the concept. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Commander Park spoke up. How long would it take to develop a prototype? Kim and Han exchanged glances. With proper funding and a dedicated team, 6 months for a proof of concept, Han said. Perhaps a year for something practical. Commander Park nodded, her expression unreadable. You'll have both. This project is now classified at the highest level. From this moment forward, you work exclusively on this technology. As the meeting ended, no one noticed the small drone outside the window, a council observation device reporting everything back to Jun Minho's ship. Jun watched the replay with growing alarm. Somehow, against all odds, the humans had detected the council's presence. Worse, they were already working to replicate council technology. He should report this immediately. Council protocol was clear. Any civilization on the verge of discovering interstellar travel must be either invited to join the council or contained. Jun knew which option the council would choose for Earth. Containment, isolation, perhaps even regression through targeted intervention. He looked down at Earth again, at the billions of lives going about their day, unaware of the galactic community that had been deciding their fate without their knowledge or consent. For the first time in his career, Jun Minho hesitated to file a report. The age of Earth's isolation was ending one way or another. The only question was what would come next. 6 months passed quickly at the underground research facility. What had begun as a small team led by Han Jiwoo and Kim Tae-ho had grown into a global effort. Scientists from 23 countries worked around the clock, united by the knowledge that humanity was not alone in the universe. Han looked at the latest test results with tired but satisfied eyes. It works, she said simply. Beside her, Kim nodded. Their small-scale quantum displacement device had successfully transported a metal sphere 5 meters across the laboratory. It wasn't much by the standards of the alien ships they had observed, but it was proof that their theory worked. We need to scale it up, Kim said. The power requirements increase exponentially with mass, but if we build a network of generators, an alarm cut through their conversation. Red lights flashed overhead as Commander Park's voice came through the speaker system. All personnel to secure stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Han and Kim exchanged worried glances before rushing to the command center. When they arrived, Commander Park stood in front of a large screen displaying a real-time satellite feed. 20 minutes ago, our defense satellites detected an unknown object entering Earth orbit, Park said as they entered. Unlike the mining vessels we've been tracking, this one made no attempt to hide its presence. The screen showed a sleek vessel unlike anything humans had built. It was long and curved like a crescent moon, with lights pulsing along its hull. They're broadcasting a message, Park continued, on all frequencies in perfect English and 11 other major Earth languages. She nodded to a technician who played the message. People of Earth, a calm voice said. The Galactic Council acknowledges your detection of our presence. We request a meeting with your planetary representatives to discuss your status within the galactic community. Please respond within 12 Earth hours. The room fell silent as the message ended. They know we know, Kim said quietly. Han looked at Commander Park. What are we going to do? Park's face was grim. The United Nations Security Council is meeting now, but they want you two there when they respond. You know more about their technology than anyone else on the planet. 3 hours later, Han and Kim found themselves in New York, sitting in on an emergency session of the UN Security Council. World leaders argued back and forth about how to respond to the alien message. We should agree to their meeting, the French representative said. This is a historic opportunity. It could be a trap, countered the Russian president. We know they've been taking resources from our solar system without permission. These are not friends coming in peace. The debate continued until a young woman entered the chamber and approached the Secretary General. After a brief, whispered conversation, he looked up with alarm. I've just been informed that a smaller vessel has detached from the alien ship, he announced. It's descending toward this building. Outside, crowds had gathered despite police barriers. People pointed to the sky as a shimmering craft no larger than a bus descended slowly toward the United Nations Plaza. News cameras broadcast the scene worldwide as the craft landed gently on the lawn. A door opened in the side of the vessel, and a figure emerged. It looked nearly human, but with proportions that seemed slightly wrong, too tall, too thin. The being wore what appeared to be a formal uniform in shades of blue and silver. Inside the Security Council chamber, screens showed the alien visitor approaching the building. Security forces surrounded the visitor but did not interfere as UN officials cautiously went out to meet them. I am Ambassador Lee Hyunjin, the visitor said in flawless English. I represent the Galactic Council in this matter concerning Earth. 2 hours later, after security scans and preliminary discussions, Ambassador Lee stood before the Security Council. Han and Kim sat at a side table, studying the ambassador with scientific curiosity. You look human, Han observed during a break in the formal proceedings. Ambassador Lee turned to her with an expression that might have been a smile. I am half human, Dr. Han. The Council has maintained genetic observation programs for centuries. Some of us serve as diplomats to worlds being considered for contact. Considered? Kim asked. You mean you've been watching us all this time, deciding our fate without our input? That is the Council's way, Lee replied simply. Not all agree with it, but the protocols have existed for millennia. The Secretary General called the meeting back to order. Ambassador Lee, you mentioned terms. What exactly does the Galactic Council want from Earth? Lee stood straight, hands clasped behind her back. The Council has observed Earth's rapid technological development with concern. Your species has advanced from primitive agriculture to rudimentary space travel in a mere few thousand years, a pace unprecedented in galactic history. She paused, looking around the room. Now you have detected our presence and begun experiments with quantum displacement technology. The Council considers this a critical threshold. And what does that mean for us? The U.S. President asked. It means you have two options, Lee said. Accept Council authority and a 1,000-year probationary period, during which your development will be guided along approved paths. Or refuse and face isolation through a complete blockade of your solar system. Angry murmurs filled the chamber. A blockade? The Chinese premier demanded. You speak of choice but offer only submission or imprisonment. Ambassador Lee's expression did not change. The Council sees unguided species as potential threats to galactic stability. Your own violent history demonstrates why caution is warranted. And the mining operations we detected, Han asked, standing from her seat. Taking our resources without permission, was that part of your cautious observation? For the first time, Lee looked uncomfortable. Resource collection is permitted in undeveloped systems. It was assumed Earth would not miss what it did not. No, it had. How convenient, Commander Park said coldly. The Secretary General raised his hands for silence. Ambassador Lee, your terms are unexpected and harsh. Earth's nations will need time to discuss this matter. The Council grants you 30 Earth days to reach your decision, Lee replied. During this time, a Council delegation will remain in orbit. I will stay as liaison. She looked around the room once more. Choose wisely. The Council has maintained peace among 500 species for over 20,000 years. That peace will be preserved, with or without Earth's participation. After the ambassador had left, the world leaders remained in emergency session. Commander Park pulled Han and Kim aside. How close are we to a working displacement system? She asked quietly. The small-scale tests work, Kim replied. But what you're thinking, it would require a global network of generators, resources beyond anything we've ever attempted. And it might not work, Han added. The technology is in its infancy. Park looked at them steadily. In 30 days, Earth either surrenders its independence or faces isolation from the stars. We need options beyond what the Council is offering. Kim hesitated, then said, There is one possibility. It's more theoretical than anything we've tested, but if we could create a large enough displacement field— What? Park pressed. Han met her eyes. We might be able to move Earth itself. Back on his observation vessel, Jun Minho received a direct communication from High Counselor Dre. Your failure to report the humans' detection of our mining operations is inexcusable, Dre said, anger evident even across species barriers. The Council had to learn from the mining crew that humans had developed scanning technology capable of detecting our ships. Jun bowed his head. I believe the situation could be managed without escalation, High Counselor. That decision was not yours to make, Dre snapped. Now we are forced into open contact centuries before schedule. The blockade fleet has been dispatched. Ambassador Lee will offer the humans terms, but we both know they will likely refuse. Humans are prideful and rebellious by nature. Perhaps that nature deserves respect rather than containment, Jun suggested cautiously. Dre's eyes narrowed. Your attachment to this primitive world has compromised your judgment, Observer Jun. You are relieved of duty. Return to Council space. Immediately. As the communication ended, Jun looked down at Earth. The humans had 30 days to decide their fate. But something told him they might have plans of their own. Plans the Council, in its ancient arrogance, could not begin to imagine. The world changed overnight after Ambassador Lee delivered the Council's ultimatum. Panic gripped cities as people learned that aliens had been mining Earth's solar system for centuries. Religious leaders called for calm, while military forces around the globe went on high alert. In public, world leaders engaged in diplomatic talks with Ambassador Lee. They requested more information about the Galactic Council, asked for better terms, and appeared to be seriously considering submission to Council authority. Behind closed doors, a different plan took shape. Kang Do-hyun had spent 20 years as a military strategist before joining the secret project. Now, he stood before a room of scientists and military leaders from a dozen nations, explaining what would become known as Project Exodus. The quantum displacement technology works, he said, pointing to a large diagram on the wall screen, but not the way the Council expects. The diagram showed Earth surrounded by hundreds of small satellites, each labeled with technical specifications. Dr. Kim's breakthrough was realizing we don't need one massive displacement field, Kang continued. We need thousands of small ones, working together, each handling a section of Earth's mass. Like lifting a heavy object with many small hands instead of two big ones, Han added from her seat at the table. Commander Park leaned forward. And you're certain this can work? Moving an entire planet? The math checks out, Kim said, though. His voice betrayed his nervousness. We've successfully tested the network effect with laboratory models. Instead of trying to create one enormous field, we create a network of smaller fields that work together. The power requirements are still enormous, Han admitted, but less than trying to create a single field large enough for Earth. Kang pointed to another part of the diagram. That's where these come in. Thousands of quantum generators deployed worldwide in a precise grid pattern. Each one contributes to the network. When activated simultaneously, they create a planet-wide displacement field. And where exactly would we be displacing Earth to? Asked the Russian general. Kang switched the display to show a star map. Dr. Han has identified a suitable location. An unoccupied star system with an orbit similar to Earth's current one, well outside Council space. Just far enough away to be out of their immediate reach, Han explained. But not so far that the displacement would strain the network beyond its capabilities. The Council would still find us eventually, Commander Park noted. Yes, Kang agreed. But by then we would be established in our new location. And more importantly, we would have demonstrated technology beyond anything the Council possesses. Our bargaining position would be entirely different. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Moving an entire planet was unprecedented, a gamble with the lives of every person on Earth. We have 25 days left, Commander Park said finally. How soon can the network be ready? Han and Kim exchanged looks. If every nation commits their resources, Han said, 20 days, maybe less. Then let's get to work, Commander Park said. And maintain the deception. As far as the Council knows, we're still considering their offer. In orbit above Earth, Ambassador Lee sat in her private quarters aboard the Council vessel. She had spent 10 days on the planet's surface, meeting with human leaders who seemed appropriately intimidated by the Council's power. Everything was proceeding according to plan. Yet something bothered her. The humans were too calm, too acquiescent in their diplomatic meetings. Based on her understanding of human psychology and her own half-human instincts, they should be more defiant, more desperate to find alternatives. Her communication panel chimed, indicating a message from High Counselor Dre. Ambassador, Dre's reptilian face appeared on screen. Report on the humans' progress toward acceptance. Lee bowed slightly. The humans continue diplomatic discussions, High Counselor. They request minor concessions but seem to understand the inevitability of their situation. Good. The blockade fleet will arrive in 18 days, well before their deadline expires. Once in position, they will have no choice but to accept our terms. High Counselor, Lee said carefully, I notice unusual activity on the planet's surface. Increased manufacturing, movement of materials, energy spikes in multiple locations. Dre dismissed her concerns with a wave. Military posturing. They hope to strengthen their negotiating position. It is meaningless against Council technology. Of course, High Counselor, Lee replied. But after the communication ended, she returned to studying the reports from the surface. The pattern of activity didn't match military preparations. It was too dispersed, too coordinated globally. The humans were planning something and the Council was too confident to see it. Lee made a decision that would change her life forever. She requested permission to return to Earth for additional diplomatic meetings. Jun Minho was supposed to be on his way back to Council space. Instead, he had disabled his vessel's tracking system and remained in Earth orbit, watching events unfold from a distance. He noticed the same patterns Ambassador Lee had seen unusual activity across Earth's surface, but he saw something else too. The quantum displacement technology the humans had been developing was being deployed on a massive scale. When he detected Lee's shuttle heading back to Earth, he took a risk and intercepted her communication channel. Ambassador Lee, he said, when she answered. This is Observer Jun. I need to speak with you about the humans. Observer, she replied, sounding surprised. I was told you had been recalled to Council space. I was, he admitted. I disobeyed. Something is happening on Earth that the Council doesn't understand. There was a long pause before Lee responded. I know. That's why I'm going back. The humans are deploying quantum displacement technology globally, Jun said. But not for ships. The pattern suggests something much larger. Meet me in orbit over the southern magnetic pole, Lee said. Council sensors don't monitor that area closely. We need to talk. 2 hours later, their vessels drifted side by side, shielded from detection by Earth's magnetic field. Why are you here, observer? Lee asked once they established a secure connection. You risked everything by staying. Jun looked at the blue planet below. Because the Council is wrong about Earth. Humans deserve better than subjugation or isolation. Lee studied him for a moment, then nodded. I believe you're right. And I believe they're planning something unprecedented, something that could change everything. We need to warn them, Jun said. The blockade fleet will arrive before their deadline. The Council never intended to give them a full 30 days. I suspected as much, Lee replied. I'll speak with Commander Park. She seems to be at the center of whatever they're planning. The next day, Lee met with Commander Park in a secure underground facility. To her surprise, Dr. Han and Dr. Kim were present as well. I know you're planning something, Lee said without preamble. And I know the blockade fleet will arrive in 16 days, not 20. Commander Park's face showed no reaction. Why are you telling us this, Ambassador? Because I'm half human, Lee said. And because the Council's treatment of Earth is wrong. Observer Jun feels the same way. Jun? Han asked. The Council observer. Lee nodded. He stayed behind when he was ordered to leave. He believes in Earth's right to self-determination. Commander Park exchanged looks with Han and Kim. After a long moment, she made a decision. We're leaving, she said simply. Leaving, Lee repeated. We're moving Earth, Han explained. The entire planet. We've developed a network of quantum displacement generators that can create a planet-wide field. Lee stared at them in shock. That's impossible. Even Council technology can't move an entire planet. Ours can, Kim said quietly. The test models work. Once the network is complete, we can displace Earth to a new location outside Council space. When? Lee asked. 14 days, Commander Park said. But if the blockade fleet arrives before then? You need more time, Lee finished. I can help. I can feed the Council false information, delay the fleet. Why would you do that? Commander Park asked. You're betraying your people. Lee looked at each of them in turn. The Council has existed for 20,000 years. In all that time, it has never changed, never grown. It only assimilates or isolates. Humanity deserves better. Perhaps the Council does too. Then help us, Han said. Tell us everything you know about the fleet, about Council protocols. Help us make this work. As Lee began sharing Council secrets, Project Exodus entered its final phase. Around the world, quantum generators were installed according to Kim's precise calculations. Engineers worked around the clock, racing against time. And in space, Jun Minho monitored the approaching blockade fleet, ready to warn Earth when it came into range. The deception continued. On the surface, Earth appeared to be preparing for Council membership. Beneath that thin veneer, an entire planet prepared to vanish. The world held its breath as the countdown to displacement entered its final days. Project Exodus was no longer completely secret. Governments had been forced to inform their citizens about parts of the plan. People needed to prepare for possible side effects when Earth jumped to its new location. Han Jiwoo hadn't slept in 3 days. She moved between monitoring stations in the main control center, checking readings and making small adjustments to the displacement network. Power levels are holding across all sectors, she reported to Commander Park. The network is at 97% completion. Park nodded, her face tense. And the timeline? We'll be ready in 36 hours, Kim said from his station. Nearby. Every generator is being calibrated to synchronize perfectly. Park turned to Ambassador Lee, who stood near a large screen showing the position of the Council blockade fleet. How much time do we have? The fleet has increased speed, Lee said grimly. According to June's last report, they will arrive in 48 hours. That's cutting it too close, Park said, her voice tight. Can we speed up deployment? Kim shook his head. The calibration process can't be rushed. If the generators aren't perfectly synchronized, the displacement field will be unstable. We can give you more time, Lee said. Jun and I have been feeding the Council false information about Earth's intentions. I can tell them that Earth is preparing a formal acceptance ceremony. That might slow the fleet's approach. Do it, Park ordered. We need every hour we can get. As Lee left to send her message, Han approached Park quietly. There's something else we need to discuss. The displacement will have effects. What kind of effects? Park asked. Geological disruption, Han explained. Nothing catastrophic, but there will be earthquakes, tidal shifts. We've informed emergency services worldwide, but there will be damage. Park nodded slowly. We expected that. Better some damage than Council domination for the next 1,000 years. There's one more thing, Han said hesitantly. We need to leave something behind, a message. Otherwise the Council will never know what happened to us or how we did it. Park thought for a moment. What do you suggest? A small space station? Han replied, already in orbit so it won't be affected by the displacement field. We can leave a recorded message for the Council. Park smiled slightly. I like that idea. Let's do it. High above Earth, Jun Minho's small vessel drifted at the edge of the solar system. He had volunteered for the most dangerous part of the plan, monitoring the approaching Council fleet directly. If they changed course or speed, Earth needed to know immediately. His sensors detected a transmission from the fleet to Council headquarters. He intercepted it, decoding the message with his access codes. High Counselor, the fleet commander reported. We have increased speed as ordered. We will reach Earth orbit in precisely 47 hours. The humans appear to be making preparations for our arrival. Ambassador Lee reports they are planning an acceptance ceremony. Dre's reply came quickly. Excellent. However, our long-range sensors detect unusual energy patterns across Earth's surface. Investigate immediately upon arrival. Jun cursed quietly. The Council was becoming suspicious. He needed to warn Earth. As he prepared to send his message, a warning flashed on his control panel. A Council patrol ship had detected his vessel and was changing course to investigate. Jun made a quick decision. He sent a brief message to Lee. Council suspicious. Fleet arrival 47 hours. My position compromised. Then he set his engines to maximum and flew directly toward the patrol ship. He had no weapons, but he could distract them, lead them away from Earth, give his adopted world a few more precious hours. Back on Earth, final preparations were underway. In cities around the globe, people secured their homes against the expected tremors. Hospitals prepared for emergencies. Power plants initiated controlled shutdowns to prevent damage during displacement. In the control center, Lee received Jun's message and reported to Commander Park. Jun's been discovered, she said, her voice tight with worry, and the Council is suspicious about the energy readings from our generators. Can they stop us? Park asked. Lee shook her head. Not if we move before they arrive. But Jun, she paused. He's sacrificing himself to buy us time. Park placed a hand on Lee's shoulder. He's a hero. When this is over, Earth will remember him. Kim called out from his station. Network synchronization complete. All generators report ready status. Han checked her own monitors. Power distribution is optimal. We can initiate the displacement sequence. Park looked around the room at the team that had made the impossible possible. Then let's do it. Start the countdown. Screens around the control center displayed a synchronized timer. 24 MWRs. 24 hours until Earth would vanish from its orbit. As the countdown began, Ambassador Lee retreated to a quiet corner of the control room. She contacted her ship, in orbit, and recorded a message for the Council fleet. This is Ambassador Lee Hyunjin, she began. By the time you receive this, Earth will be gone. The humans have developed technology beyond even the Council's understanding. They have chosen neither submission nor isolation, but a third path, one the Council never anticipated. She paused, looking at the humans working frantically around her. I have chosen to go with them. Observer June has likely given his life to help them escape. We believe the Council is wrong about Earth. Perhaps one day you will understand why. In space, June's small vessel played a deadly game of hide-and-seek with the Council patrol ship. He led them through the outer planets using his superior knowledge of the system to stay just ahead of capture. Every minute he kept them occupied was another minute for Earth. The countdown continued. 18 Nai, Kim Taiho worked with engineers worldwide to make final adjustments to the generator network. Every calculation had to be perfect. The fate of an entire planet depended on his equations. Han Jiwoo monitored the displacement coordinates, ensuring Earth would emerge precisely where planned, a star system 230 light-years away, beyond the Council's immediate reach. Grounds around the world, the quantum generators began their power-up sequence. Massive energy reserves gathered over weeks from every power plant on Earth flowed into the network. Cities dimmed as power was redirected to the generators. Lee sent her message to the small space station that would remain behind, along with a compressed data packet containing Earth's new coordinates, encrypted and time-locked to open only after the Council fleet had departed. 6. In deep space, Jun's luck ran out. The patrol ship landed a glancing blow with its tractor beam damaging his engine. As his ship tumbled through space, he sent one final message to Earth. Patrol ship delayed. Main fleet still approaching. Proud to have served Earth. First effects of the building displacement field became visible. Around the world, the sky took on a strange shimmer, as if reality itself was becoming thin. Animals grew restless, responding to changes humans couldn't yet perceive. In the control center, Han and Kim made their final checks. Everything was ready. The Council fleet detected the enormous energy buildup on Earth. The commander ordered maximum speed, but they were still hours away. High Counselor Dre, receiving urgent reports from the fleet, realized something unprecedented was happening. For the first time in centuries, the ancient alien felt something close to fear. 30 Moantir. Commander Park ordered all personnel to secure positions. Around the world, people held their loved ones close, watching the shimmering sky with a mixture of fear and hope. 10. The displacement field began to form, a web of quantum energy surrounding the entire planet. It was invisible to the naked eye, but instruments detected its growing strength. 5 Maukar, Han Jiwoo, and Kim Taiho stood side by side at the master control station, hands poised over the final activation sequence. 01. For Earth, Han whispered. For the future, Kim replied. 10. The countdown reached its final seconds. 05. Around the world, the quantum generators reached maximum power. 03. The displacement field stabilized, encasing the entire planet. 02. Earth began to shimmer, like a mirage in the desert. 01. Han and Kim pressed the activation controls simultaneously. In an instant that defied conventional physics, Earth vanished from its orbit. Where a blue-green planet had circled its sun for billions of years, there was now only empty space, and a small space station carrying a message for those who would arrive too late. The Council fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel 12 hours later, weapons ready, only to find their target gone. Earth, with its billions of inhabitants, had simply disappeared. The fleet commander stared at the empty space where Earth should have been, then noticed the small station orbiting where the planet had been. When they retrieved Ambassador Lee's message, the commander listened in stunned silence. You gave us no place among the stars, Lee's recorded voice concluded, so we have found our own. The displacement was not gentle. When Earth rematerialized in its new location, the planet shuddered. Earthquakes rolled across continents. Massive waves crashed against coastlines. For several terrifying hours, it seemed the gamble might end in disaster. But humans had prepared. Cities had been partially evacuated. Emergency services stood ready. When the tremors finally stopped, the damage was significant but not catastrophic. Earth had survived its greatest journey. Han Jiwoo sat exhausted in the control center, staring at the confirmation readings on her screen. They had done it. Earth was now orbiting a yellow star 230 light-years from its original position, well beyond the immediate reach of the Galactic Council. "It worked," she said quietly to Kim Tae-ho, who looked equally drained beside her. "We actually moved an entire planet." Kim nodded, too tired for words. Around them, the control center erupted in cheers as confirmation came in from astronomical stations around the world. The new star matched their target exactly. Earth's orbit was stable. The displacement had been precise beyond their most optimistic calculations. Commander Park entered the room, her uniform wrinkled from days without rest. "Preliminary damage reports are coming in," she announced. "Some coastal cities hit hard by tsunamis. Several major fault lines triggered earthquakes, but casualties are far lower than our worst-case scenarios." "And our new neighborhood?" Han asked. Park gestured to a large screen showing telescope images. 7 planets in this system. 2 appear potentially habitable. We have neighbors, but no signs of advanced civilization. For now, we're alone here." Ambassador Lee joined them, looking out at the unfamiliar stars visible through the command center's window. "The Council will eventually find us," she said. "It might take years, even decades, but they'll search." "Let them search," Park replied. "By then, we'll be ready for them." 5 years passed quickly for the people of Earth. The initial challenges of adapting to their new stellar neighborhood gave way to an unprecedented era of unity and innovation. Nations that had once been enemies now worked together to build planetary defenses and expand humanity's reach into their new star system. The 2 potentially habitable planets became targets for humanity's first interstellar colonies. Using improved quantum displacement technology, ships could now travel between planets in minutes rather than months or years. On the 5th anniversary of what people now called the Great Jump, Han Jiwoo stood on the observation deck of Earth's first major space station. The station was part of a defensive network that surrounded the planet, an early warning system designed to detect any approach by Council ships. Kim Tae-ho joined her at the viewport. Their relationship had deepened during the years of working together, moving from colleagues to friends to something more. "Hard to believe it's been 5 years," Kim said, looking out at Earth below them. From space, the planet looked much as it always had: blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land masses. Only the unfamiliar stars around it revealed they were no longer in their original solar system. "Some days I still expect to wake up and find it was all a dream," Han replied. "That we're back in the old lab, just starting to detect the Council ships." A gentle alert tone sounded, and Commander Park's voice came through the station's communication system. "Han, Kim, you're needed in the command center. We've detected something." They found Park standing before a large display showing a section of space at the edge of their new system. A single point of light pulsed on the screen. "A ship just appeared at the outer boundary," Park explained. "Quantum displacement signature. But it's not one of ours." Han felt her heart race. "The Council found us?" "Not exactly," said a familiar voice behind them. They turned to see Ambassador Lee entering the command center, accompanied by a tall, thin alien they recognized from old recordings. "Jun?" Kim asked in disbelief. Jun Minho nodded, his face showing signs of age and hardship. "It's been a long journey." "We thought you died delaying that patrol ship," Han said. "I was captured," Jun explained, "imprisoned for helping Earth escape. But the Council has changed in the years since you left. Your disappearance caused disruption." "What kind of disruption?" Park asked cautiously. Lee stepped forward. "Show them," she said to Jun. Jun activated a small device that projected a star chart into the air between them. "This is the current political map of Council space, he said. The areas in blue are systems that have declared independence from Council rule. They call themselves the Concordat of Free Worlds. Han studied the map with growing amazement. Nearly a third of what had once been Council territory was now marked in blue. Your disappearance showed everyone something the Council had tried to hide for 20,000 years, Jun continued, that their rule is not absolute, that alternatives are possible. We escaped from prison during the confusion of the Altair rebellion, Li added. We've spent the past 2 years gathering allies and searching for Earth. How did you find us? Kim asked. Jun smiled slightly. The coordinates in Ambassador Li's message, the ones she left on the space station, they were encrypted but not impossible to decode. It just took time. And you came alone? Park asked, her military mind assessing potential threats. For now, Li replied. But 7 systems are ready to join you in an alliance. Others will follow if you agree. Han looked at the map again, understanding the magnitude of what had happened. Earth's escape started a revolution. More than that, Jun said. It demonstrated technology the Council claimed was impossible, moving an entire planet. That changed everything. Some Council members now advocate for reform, for an end to the policies of isolation and subjugation. Led by Dre, I imagine, Park said sarcastically. Jun's expression hardened. No. Dre and his followers remain committed to the old ways. The Council is fracturing along ideological lines. There will be conflict. Which is why we need Earth, Li added. Your quantum displacement technology, refined over these 5 years, could be decisive in what's coming. Park exchanged looks with Han and Kim. This isn't a decision we can make alone. The world's leaders will need to discuss this. Of course, Li agreed. But consider this. 5 years ago, Earth faced either submission or isolation. Now you have the opportunity to reshape galactic civilization. 1 month later, representatives from 7 alien civilizations arrived on Earth for a historic summit. Their ships appeared in orbit one by one, using Earth's quantum displacement technology provided by Jun and Li. In a grand hall built specifically for the occasion, delegates from across the stars met with Earth's leaders. Han, Kim, and Park sat with Ambassador Li and Jun Minho as President Kang Do-yoon, once a military strategist and now Earth's elected leader, addressed the gathering. 5 years ago, Earth chose a path that had never been taken before. President Kang began. We rejected both the submission and isolation offered by the Galactic Council. Instead, we found our own way among the stars. He gestured to the assembled delegates. Today, we are not alone in that choice. Together, we form a new kind of interstellar community, one based on mutual respect and self-determination rather than dominance and control. The delegates applauded as Kang continued. The Concordat of Free Worlds will not seek to replace one empire with another. Each world remains sovereign. Each species determines its own path. We unite only in our commitment to defend that right for all. In the years that followed, the conflict Jun had predicted erupted across Council space. The reformists, inspired by Earth's example, challenged the old order led by High Counselor Dre. Worlds that had been subjugated for millennia declared their independence. Earth and its allies in the Concordat remained officially neutral. But their quantum displacement technology spread to reformist worlds, giving them a crucial advantage. Ships that could appear and disappear at will were nearly impossible to blockade or contain. 10 years after the Great Jump, High Counselor Dre requested a meeting with Earth's leaders. He arrived not as a conqueror but as a diplomat, his once imposing presence diminished by years of losing battles. In the same hall where the Concordat had been formed, Dre faced President Kang, Han, Kim, Commander Park, and the others who had defied his ultimatum a decade earlier. The council I led for centuries is no more, Dre admitted. Half our worlds have joined your Concordat. Others have formed their own alliances. What remains is too weak to continue the old policies. What do you want from us? President Kang asked directly. A new beginning, Dre replied. A treaty between equals. The remaining council worlds wish to establish diplomatic relations with Earth and the Concordat. Han could hardly believe what she was hearing. The mighty council, which had once offered Earth only submission or isolation, now sought partnership. As discussions continued in the days that followed, Han and Kim found a quiet moment alone on the balcony overlooking the hall. "Did you ever imagine it would end like this?" Kim asked. Han shook her head. "When we were building that first displacement device in the lab, all I wanted was to understand the technology. I never dreamed we'd move the Earth and change the galaxy." Kim took her hand. "What you said to me before we activated the displacement field, that humans' greatest strength isn't our technology but our refusal to accept limitations imposed by others. You were right." Han smiled. "And now no one will ever make that mistake again." Below them,